With the rise of the cloud native, you see the snowflakes of the world out there separating the data from the compute, all this change. And with the velocity coming in, streaming data, all kinds of different data types. Guys, what is that doing to the market right now?
So interestingly, what I've been noticing more and more is that for the first time, business is driving with equal participation from IT. And I'm advising my clients to do these hackathons so they can jointly understand what capabilities, what models to use, what's the right architecture, how do you safeguard this huge investment into IT, because IT is not like SQL, it is expensive, and rank the business cases that will deliver significant value with an understanding of what that ROI will be. So this whole journey is actually very unique, and it's not something that we, like you said, that analytics is very mature. We've been doing it for decades now, but AI is not. So this, even before we go to architecture, we need to understand what are the use cases, how are they aligned to models, what models to pick, how to catalog the whole thing, because at some point we'll be changing things very quickly. So we need the transparency, the observability piece well documented.
Well, let me go back to something that Sanjeev said. He said that AI sits on top of the data, and I fully understand and agree with that. However, the foundation of data that most corporations have is not a believable or reliable foundation of data. And AI is no better than the data that it operates on. And if the data that it operates on is not believable, usable data, then AI produces incorrect results. So I think that AI is going to lead us to the understanding that we've got to go back and spend the problem with taking care of your old data that's already in the corporation is it's a messy job. It's messy. It's not fun. It's digging dirt in the backyard, and nobody likes to do it. But if you're going to make AI successful, you've got to have a foundation of data that people operate from.
Ben, what's your reaction to that?
So I would say two things. One is like a general point, and another thing, I probably actually disagree a little bit with what Bill said. On the general point, I think it's important to make a distinction between AI, like building models and inputs into building proprietary models. Say that you are a company that wants to build your own LLM or whatever. There is building models there requires a bunch of data, and there is a process for that. There are things that you need to do there. That is very distinct than applying AI on top of analytics. And so there is what does AI do to the way that we think about the reports and dashboards and things like that Sanjeev was describing? Like, how do we think about BI in a post-LLM world? That is a distinct question than how do we develop LLMs and use LLMs internally at companies for the chatbots that replace your support teams and stuff like that. So there's a little bit of a conflation that happens there a lot in conversations in the market about AI and analytics, and it actually kind of has two very different problems. The second thing I'd say about data quality, I actually think this is a pretty interesting question. There is a lot of argument now that sort of garbage in, garbage out. These models need good data. We therefore need to focus on data quality, all those kinds of things. That's a pretty well sort of argued out point at this point. I actually don't know if I think that will be the way this bears out. If you think about how LLMs work, if you think about in which LLMs are basically just pattern machines, you can think of roughly, they do it currently for text, but you can think of roughly as pattern machines, essentially what transformers do. If you think how LLMs work, they actually do a pretty good job of handling messy data. Like OpenAI and ChatGPT stuff is trained on top of enormously messy data. And the thing that it does, for better or for worse, is it sands a lot of that down. It gives you kind of this average of it is an effective chatbot despite being trained on a bunch of garbage out of Reddit. And it has to have some good stuff too, but it does a decent job of not being confused by what we would think of as sort of messy input data. And so to me, it's if you end up building a bunch of models that do that and you apply that same principle to other sort of ways of thinking about building these models, it's not obvious to me that you actually need that clean of data to do it. That this is kind of a lot of these big, just throw a ton of compute at it models end up being things that can just like they are giant tires driving over rocks, where like they become so big and so powerful that the little bit of pebbles that you run over actually don't matter that much. And so I'm not sure that I believe that like data cleanliness will matter more and won't matter less in that sort of world.